other side, we have a heart in here, and for some reason there's still part of a liver attached to this thing. It's kind of inconvenient, but we'll work past it. So starting from the top, we can actually still see, actually can't see this a lot of times, but we can see a little bit left over from the thyroid cartilage at the top of the larynx, so we can still see that. This will be part of the thyroid cartilage. We can't really see vocal flaps or anything on this one. They've all been kind of cut off. But what we can see is this hole going down in the trachea. What would we call that for our purposes?
Epiglottis?
Yeah, this would be the glottis. It's just the hole. The epiglottis is the thing that covers up the hole. So if I was to pin this, I'd probably take a probe or something and kind of stuff it down in there like I did the aorta, and then I'd give you kind of like a hint. That's what it was, so it wasn't just like really vague. So this entrance to the top of the trachea is going to be our glottis. So that's how air can get into the system. And you can see if you get kind of close, it's been kind of cut, so that may make it easier or harder. But you should be able to see that there's kind of like perfect cartilage rings. Okay. So you should be able to select these cartilage rings that kind of come around and see those. When I'm pinning on here, if you give me cartilage rings of the trachea or trachea, I'll take either one of those because it'd be kind of hard to differentiate between what's a piece of cartilage and what's not on here, so I'll take either or. But as we're going down, so this trachea, it kind of works the same way as our arteries and veins do. So it's a big structure that will continually break down into smaller and small structures like arteries to arterioles or veins to venules type of thing. So as it comes down here, it gets in between these two lungs on each side, and it'll branch. And those two main branches right there are called bronchi. You have a left and a right, and here's one right here. It's where the windpipe branches off to go to either side. I'm not sure if y'all can see that over there, but it's just kind of an opening shooting straight into the lungs. And that'll continue to branch off itself. So these two main branches are going to be known as bronchi, and then as it branches smaller and smaller, we get these smaller and smaller branches. Those are going to be called bronchioles. Okay? So these smaller branches down below are bronchioles, the two main are called bronchi, and those are going to form the bronchial tree. So if you look on our diagram on the board, you can kind of see throughout the lungs, as it comes in, it kind of branches out and forms like a little tree, kind of like in the cerebellum type of thing we saw. It's called the bronchial tree, and that just means it's taking air to or from like every part of the lungs. That's how it's able to get air to every single part of the lungs. It's through that bronchial tree. It's just kind of a network of windpipes. What else could we pin? So a big concept that you'll need to get your head around is left and right lungs, comparing the two. So if the heart's sitting like this, which lung would you think, we'll say this one is? If you should take an estimated guess right now.
Right.
Be right, because the heart is on the left side of the body, even on sheep. So our heart's going to be on our left side of the body, so this would make this a right lung. But even if you didn't know that, if you didn't know this was front, this could be back, so that could make it confusing. The right lobe or the right lung is going to have 3 lobes to it, where the left's only going to have 2. Why would you think the right would have more lobes to it?
Because the heart takes up space.
Exactly. You have the heart and the way over there. It's a pretty big structure, so it takes up space, so it can't have that 3rd lobe. So you can see on this one we have one big lobe right here and a lobe in the middle, which you'll find on the same side. And then on the right one, you also have this lobe that sticks up way high over here. So that's a good way to know if it's a right or left lung. And that could be an easy question for me. I could just pin it and say, is this a right or a left lung? Okay. And you should be able to tell by location of the heart. I'll try to have it like this to where it's like it lines up with you, kind of like the cat. But you should be able to differentiate. Over here you can see there's just this one bottom one and this one right here. But this is cut to where you can see the bronchioles too in there. So everybody can maybe see that. So the bronchioles are just going to be where it's cut. What else was on there? So we're not going to worry about pulmonary arteries, pulmonary veins, ligamentum arteriosum, because that's all stuff that we just looked at like last week and the week before, right, on the heart. So we're not really going to dig into that because we've already hit that pretty hard, and that's going to be tough to see anyway, so we're not going to worry about it. There may be conceptual questions over that still, so just kind of recall that, but it should all be stuff that's still fresh in our mind. Pleural cavity. So does anybody know what the pleura is?
Having to deal with the lung.
Yeah, it's the membrane lining surrounding the lungs. So there's dura mater and pia mater on the brain, right? It's kind of the same thing surrounding the lungs. Sometimes it's peeled up enough to where you can see it, but it's a really, really thin layer that lays on top of the lungs. It helps to lubricate the lungs because they're constantly expanding and contracting and shrinking back down. So you don't want those to dry up and crack up because that would be bad. So it kind of works like oil to keep them lubricated. But that's just the membrane surrounding the lungs. I think that's about it. That's really all I could pin. So I could do maybe thyroid cartilage. You can kind of see it sticking out right here. Glottis for the hole in the top. Trachea or cartilage rings of the trachea coming down. I could pin the two major branches, or this major branch right here off the trachea, which would be a what? The bronchi, right? The bronchi is the major one, and then all the little ones on the inside would be the bronchioles. So I could do bronchi or bronchioles. I could ask you use this right or left based on the lobes or heart location. And then the pleura will be a conceptual question. It's not really something I can pin on this guy. Do you have any questions over any of that?